So what I want to talk about today is the media and how it's affecting our society. I recently got into a debate on Facebook. Uh, it's regarding the NFL protests. A Facebook friend of mine who I'd met back in 2011 when I lived in Austin, Texas, decided that she was going to post this regarding the fines that the league are, going to be levying on the club. Whatever you think about that, it's uh, what I wanted to get to is exactly what I'm going to read for you right now. This is a truncated version of the exchange. So she had her comment, and my and believe me, I've avoided doing this, and it finally just got to be too much. I get so tired of just the arrogance and the ignorance of the people on Facebook. So, first thing I said, number one, if I, a middle aged straight white male, aka the oppressor, decided to protest a horrible injustice at my job, I would be fired. A quick example, I'm a carpenter. If I was to show up at the job site before everybody got there, hang up a big banner so people that driving by the job site could see it, big banner that said, "Save the whales." The people who own the company that hired me, among many other people, would say, "Hey, you got to stop doing that. All right, that's not part of the job. We don't want that. Stop." If I was to come back and continue to do it, eventually they would get upset with me to the point where they would fire me because it was just something that isn't part of the job. That's all. It's not because they hate whales. It's just not part of the job. Number two, the protesters are assuming that what the media tells them is true. This is a point that I continually coming back to. Number three, former Seahawk Michael Bennett, good riddance, and Colin Kaepernick, that was me, are on the cover of New Yorker as Men of the Year. Not because they're swell fellas just trying to make a difference, it's because the media wants more controversy. See reason two. They know it, and they want to add more fuel to the fire. I don't necessarily blame the multi-million-dollar athletes wanting to protest, but I absolutely no interest in knowing what their opinions are on any other topic than football. Run, jump, catch. That's the business they're in, and that's why I'm watching. After that, one of my Facebook friends responds, and this is where the fun begins. Apparently she's Puerto Rican, and it's a she. Her first response is, "Cap actually made a difference in many people's lives. Just because it didn't affect you doesn't mean it didn't affect someone. But you lost any credibility with your childish Colin Kaepernick. And whether you like it or not, being a professional athlete does give you a platform to speak up for those who can't. I don't see anyone telling J.J. Watt to just play football. Why? Editor's note here. Because he's not doing it before the game." And she says, "Because he's doing something people agree on, and it's great. Cap is also doing something great for the ones that agree with systematic racism." Which is just a flimsy statement. So I responded to her by saying, "I misspelled his name. Sorry. And my credibility has nothing to do with the reality of the situation. Facts are facts. The dude doesn't know what he's talking about." And then I start to ask, what has he done that's great for other people? And where is this systematic racism that you speak of? Who exactly doesn't have a voice? And does the platform that pro athletes get mean that the undereducated opinions on a subject are correct? Again, I don't necessarily blame the multi-million-dollar athletes wanting to protest. I blame the media more than anything. I keep going back to this, okay? It's the media. People, wake the fuck up. So she responds, "He gives to people in need." And I could go all over all the statistics that point to systematic racism, but I have a feeling you would discredit them. I'm a public servant that has seen it firsthand. I've been out there, so it's not something I'm getting from anyone. But my own two eyes. My grandfather fought in 2 wars for this country, and because he was Puerto Rican, he was treated like shit. But he still served 30 years. You're treated like shit and you still serve 30 years? Man, you gotta take some. Maybe it's you. They fight for freedoms and rights, not just the ones people choose to cherry pick. So real quick, she's claiming that she's a public servant and that she sees this firsthand. Once your view is biased, you're going to see this everywhere, okay? Once you get the idea, once somebody puts this idea in your head that there's systematic racism and your life isn't exactly what you think it could be, and you'd rather not take responsibility for it, well, god damn it, you're going to see that shit everywhere. As far as her grandfather, again, if he was treated like shit, why didn't he get out of the fucking service? You can't. I mean, how much blame are you gonna lay on somebody? It's not like he was in jail. So I responded to the Puerto Rican, I could discredit your statistics if they are wrong. All the charity in the world can't fix the damage done by manipulating the masses into believing something that's just not true. Is your grandfather still alive? How does he feel about the protests? He was probably treated like shit because almost every soldier is treated like shit at some point. The fact that he's Puerto Rican probably came into play more than once, but it doesn't sound like he bought into the victim mentality like so many people are these days. God bless him for his service. I've worked in the system that provides housing, charity, and shelter for the disadvantaged as a carpenter. Then I was homeless for 9 months, living in a tent in a sanctioned homeless camp. I was required to participate in many activities, and I interacted with the homeless in a way that didn't allow me to punch a clock and go home. I know firsthand how the guilt of hard-working earners creates a reckless compassion that enables nothing other than contempt and disdain among the recipients. Recipients who play the victim card and they get rewarded for it. Constantly reinforcing the myth that certain people are fucked and life is unfair because of the color of their skin will convince them that there's no point in trying. It's unbelievably inhumane to do that. In fact, if you insist that black people are oppressed while all around them, people in the same position or worse are succeeding, means that you yourself are a racist. It's different because they're black is wrong. They are people, not black people. So here's where the conversation starts going off the rails. The Puerto Rican replies, the bottom line is you will never understand because you are a white man living in a white world. That's the problem. I'm the problem. People that will never understand have to deal with oppression will always be the first to say there isn't oppression. Your attempt to project and deflect doesn't work with me, but nice try. So, before I read this comment, I had prepared a lengthy, involved, detailed statement that I was going to post before I even opened up Facebook. The reason I did this is because I had a real strong feeling that this was going to happen, that she was going to say something about me being white and I could never understand. So here's my first response to her. Bullshit. I was afraid you would take it there. So fucking sad. So fucking pathetic. It's completely hypocritical of you, resorting to exactly what you think you're fighting against. You have no retort, so you go dirty with the easiest out. How could I possibly understand? My white skin prevents it. Poor you. Just another victim. Since I was afraid of this, I prepared something to post when I wasn't being insulted and reacting emotionally. You're welcome. Please see the main comment section. By the way, Colin Kaepernick is fucking hilarious. Before I read the main comment section, the Puerto Rican's response was, You're drunk, go home. My Facebook friend says, same goes for you, I guess, towards the Puerto Rican. And after 4 days, I opened up my page and I saw this and I said, I haven't had a drink in years. Is there ever a time when you actually know what you're talking about? Which, again, I think it's a completely reasonable question because she's not proving to have any credibility. Then today, I opened up my Facebook page and my Facebook friend, and this is like 3 days after I made that comment. She says, we're done, Greg. Let's move on, yo. And I got a problem with that too, because, you posted this, you gave us a forum to debate. I've been insulted, I've been slandered, and all I've done is just try to explain how it's the media, and now I'm being scolded for defending myself against unfair accusations. And my friend is now shaking her finger at me, when in reality, had she never posted this, this never would have happened. So, way to take responsibility. The only thing I said to her was like, an ounce of prevention, that's it. And I actually unfollowed her. She's still my Facebook friend, but I'm not going to see any more posts from her. I just can't deal with it. So one of the comments I made, I'm going to read from the main comments section, which was separate from the first comment I made, the 3-point comment that I made. If these conditions they are protesting really exist, did they just start upon the election of our current president? Why were they not doing this when Barack was in office? I voted for Barack Hussein Obama. I did not vote for Trump. That doesn't mean I can't see through the thinly veiled excuses these guys give for their protests. The reality is that Chicago and other cities with similar politics are killing fields for African Americans, falling apart at the seams. That's what Obama and his ilk have created. Meanwhile, black unemployment is at its lowest point since the research on the topic began. But Trump's the racist. And then, in quotation marks, judge not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And you better fucking know who said that. Another Facebook friend of my friend posted a comment below that. All it says is white nonsense roundup. So my response was virtue signaling white liberal. Later on, I was able to post that full, unemotional, and quite informative post regarding how media and politics work. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read it in full. I want to make it absolutely clear that the point I'm trying to make is mass media has and will continue to poison the minds of its viewers. As a consequence, viewership increases, ratings go up, and profits soar. It can simply be referred to as the narrative, or a narrative. Politicians are looking to be elected or re-elected. If they work within the narrative, millions of voters respond by giving them the vote, believing that somehow their political entity they voted for will work for them to fix the problem. Once in office, donations and funds are easily acquired in exchange for policy manipulation and lawmaking to enable the donors to gain more power, money, or leeway in legalities that otherwise would be impossible. The programs established by the politician provide benefits that seem Programs established by the politicians provide benefits that seem like a good idea, but the benefits actually limit the receiver's option to move out of the poverty level and become independent. You can have this much money if you have a child out of wedlock, but if you take your husband, you receive less. You can live in a rent-controlled apartment in a high-dollar part of the city, But if you make more than a certain amount of income, you must move out. Many welfare recipients become lifelong parasites. This destroys the self-worth of the individual and begins a negative feedback loop that reinforces the parasitic behavior. But now the politicians have loyal voters. It is the new plantation. Politicians are the master, and the hobbled social welfare recipients become their slave. Lyndon B. Johnson, a Democrat with strong ties to the KKK and the creator of The Great Society, has been quoted as saying, "I'll keep those niggers voting Democrat for the next 200 years." The only major difference now is that the slaves come in all colors and the masters do as well. Sorry if that word offends you. Maybe you ought to think about why it offends you. If you don't know about it, I'm not surprised. It's not your fault. You are someone who cares about people and want to help, but you've been manipulated. I would much rather you don't become one of the useful idiots that do the dirty work for people at the top. I was once one of them, and 20 years ago I might be in total agreement with you, but not now. Then I provided a link to Pew Research, which pewresearch.org, that reports on crime statistics. And in this short article, which is not really a commentary, they even mentioned most people in the United States think that crime has gone up in the last 20 years, but it's actually taken a sharp drop. Why do you think that happened? I go on, and this is what I say about Kaepernick. Kaepernick should be talking about 93% of blacks murdered in the U.S. are killed by other blacks. African Americans make up 13% of the population, but commit close to 50% of all violent crime. In reality, violent crime is a young man's game. The vast majority of offenders are between the ages of 14 to 28 years old. So the actual percentage of the population that commits 50% of the violent crime is less than 7%. Probably a lot less. When confronted by a suspect who is armed, police are more likely to shoot white or Hispanic suspects instead of African Americans. Single motherhood has risen for most races in the United States since 1960. In a rare moment of clarity, CNN's Don Lemon reports 72% of black children are born out of wedlock. Systematic racism is not being pulled over because you're black. It's not getting passed over for a job because you have an ethnic-sounding name. It's not getting arrested for possession of marijuana more than whites, even if usage is the same. These occurrences are common because African Americans, unfortunately, simply commit more crime. And although most people won't admit it, it creates a bias that is based on reality. Systematic racism is law enforced by government. Jim Crow is systematic racism. It ended in the 50s with the Civil Rights Movement. Because I'm a single, middle-aged, hetero, white male, it's probably difficult to believe what I'm saying is true. I get it. Again, the media. So I've included links to 3 videos featuring African Americans. I implore you, please watch them. I only wish you the best. God bless. So that kind of sums up where I was coming from and the message I was trying to pass along. And it was meant with resistance, anger, disgust, and slander towards me. So my younger self, understand. It's a confusing world, and we are not given the opportunity as often as we would like to see how reality is actually unfolding before us, thanks to the media. Thanks for watching.